Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 2 of CNY Conversations. Back for our second episode, and CNY Conversations is built around our Central New York community and taking topics and headlines and having discussions and having conversations about everything that's going on in Syracuse and Central New York. In the future, I'm hoping to have some local guests on. It could be everything from politicians to business owners to entertainers, but it's all about that local flavor and keeping it local to Syracuse and Central New York. And today I'm flying solo once again for episode 2. And I wanted to discuss some of the local happenings here going on around Central New York. We're flying right into Memorial Day weekend already, and it's pretty amazing how we're almost halfway through the year. We're at Memorial Day weekend. Next thing you know, it'll be 4th of July and then the Great New York State Fair. Not to rush it, but it's 3 months of summer that we have to enjoy, to get out and have as much fun as possible. And this Memorial Day weekend, from what I've seen of the weather forecast, looks outstanding. Great weekend to start planting. I know my wife and I are planning on starting planting our landscaping out front of the house and the vegetable garden in the backyard. Time to build some garden boxes, or at least one anyway, in order to, and it's, the garden in the backyard, something we haven't done in quite some time. I think it's probably been 2 or 3 years since we did the garden in the backyard. We had to switch things up in our backyard, put in a shed and a new trampoline for the kids. So we had to move some things around, but it's time to build those garden boxes and get that vegetable garden going once again, because there's nothing better than, especially here in Central New York, walking outside during the summer months, going to your own garden and grabbing, tomatoes or zucchini or whatever it might be, and saves that trip to the store. But I'd love to hear what everybody is doing for this Memorial Day weekend. Are you traveling? Are you going away camping? We're a big camping family here, but because of where Memorial Day landed and the lack of availability of some campsites, we push off our first camping trip until the following weekend. But all the campgrounds are open. All the state parks are open. I believe most of the beaches are open. And with the temperature starting to climb and we're getting in a little bit of summer heat, it's a great time for barbecues and picnics and getting out on the lake. There's all kinds of, of course, that water is probably still pretty cold, but it's a great time if you have a boat, get out on the lake, and start enjoying this beautiful weather that we tend to have here in Syracuse and Central New York during the summer. I know a lot of the breweries will have food trucks. I think I saw a social media post from local 315 brewery that advertised the food trucks and entertainment they'll have for the weekend. I'm sure a lot of the other breweries, Hot House Brewery, will have Friday night entertainment. So it's a good time to get out to taste those local craft beers and support those local businesses. So I was looking through Syracuse.com this morning before I started the podcast and just seeing what the top stories were. Of course, the top story, I guess, that's been going on all week is the fact that this whole border crisis that's thousands of miles away in the southwestern part of the country, all of a sudden it's a problem in New York, that these migrants have come across the border and now they need something to do with them. And why not ship them off to the democratic socialist states across the country? That would be New York. So, and that's my personal view. You can take it as you wish. I'm not going to apologize for my personal political view, but New York to me is a democratic socialist state. And they try to control every aspect of and make government control everything. And now we have busloads of, supposedly, according to the news, busloads of migrants coming north. They landed in New York City. Well, now New York City is over capacity to take in migrants, so they want to make it everybody else's problem. And, it is a humanitarian crisis. but it's something that was created, in my opinion, by the federal government. So this humanitarian crisis with these human beings trying to improve their lives by living in the U.S., which is still probably still the greatest country in the world. And now they come to New York City. New York City's overcapacity and supporting these people, and the New York City mayor wants to ship them upstate. And the response from upstate was pretty interesting. Our Republican county executive was like, not here. We're not going to take on this burden. We've been a sanctuary. Syracuse has been a sanctuary city in the past, but between Ryan McMahon and Ben Walsh, they're like, not here. Now, they put out executive orders stating we're not accepting any migrants in Syracuse and Central New York, and which has turned into a legal battle now between the mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams, and the politicians up here in Syracuse, Central New York. Now it's a legal battle, and what can and can't be enforced on and enforced in upstate. It's gonna be interesting how that plays out. And I truly feel bad for the people that are a part of this humanitarian crisis, but this is something that could have been completely handled differently without spreading the wealth, so to say, spreading the burden across the country instead of taking care of what needed to be taken care of in the southwestern part of the country. So I'll get off that political bandwagon for a minute. Actually, no, I won't. Let's talk about something that I know a little bit about. And, with real estate comes property taxes. And there was a headline here on Syracuse.com this morning about a few brave towns have decided to reassess based on market activity. And this has been going on. If your taxes have gone up in the last year or two or three, it's not unusual. The towns and villages realize, hey, market activity, market values of homes have raised, so we need to raise taxes. The question that I have is if these towns and villages, and I'd like to hear your comments. So if you if you participate in town or village politics, I really want to hear your point of view on this. But if towns and villages are going to raise taxes or raise tax assessments on the homes in their towns and villages based on market activity and the market value of homes that realistically have increased from anywhere to 10 and 15% year over year for the last 3, 4, 5 years, you're raising taxes, but are you improving services? Are you raising taxes just to have that rainy day fund, which I know a lot of them do? Or are you making capital improvements within your town? The town that I grew up in, which is the town of Salina, for years, for decades, really kept tax levels at a very low level. These assessments, raising tax values, is there plans for capital improvement? Are there plans to improve services? The towns and villages that have police forces and the fire service and Parks and Rec and DPW. Are you improving those services with the taxes that you are collecting? Because if you are raising assessments and you're raising tax values and you have a new pot of money, but your services and your and the lack of improvement stay here, where's that money going? There should be some kind of transparency. And unfortunately, the ability to contest your assessment and your assessment being raised has all been wiped out because they just blanket cover it with it's market activity and market values have gone up, so we reserve the right to do an assessment. Great, show us where the tax money is going. And I think that's another political soapbox that I'm on, but it's true. If you're going to raise taxes, and there's some towns that are well above $10,000 a year in property taxes. And I live in the town of Camillus, and I live in a neighborhood where that's the case, where tax values are $10,000 or above per year per residence. I showed a home on the real estate side. I showed a home where the taxes were $10,000 or $11,000, and because of the value of the home, or the list price of the home, the value of the home was going to rise significantly. So at some point, the assessment was going to change, and it was predicted this tax value on this home was going to be around 15 plus $1,000 per year on the single property because it was on the lake. That's just astounding. Where are the tax dollars going? I want somebody to tell me. Please put a comment on this podcast. I want somebody to tell me where this tax money is going. Some of the other stuff going on. I know we have Syracuse Mets baseballs in full force. New York Yankees baseballs in full force. Not that that's Syracuse, Central New York. Yankees are near and dear to my heart. So, it's a lot of sports going on. I know the colleges have all but wrapped up and done their graduations. The high schools, the school districts are wrapping up their year. So within the next 3 or 4 weeks, the kids are going to be done with school and be out for summer vacation and, enjoying everything that is summer. What kind of activities are out there? I know there's several different camps. My wife and I were actually looking at some of the camps that are out there. The kids are doing, a soccer camp, lacrosse camp. We were looking up a farm camp. Rowie Farms in the town of Onondaga does a farm camp every year. And it fills up quick because it's so popular. And the kids get to go in and learn all about farming and taking care of the animals. The zoo, Rosamond Gifford Zoo has a zookeeper program, junior zookeeper program, where young teens or preteens can come in and learn what it's like to be a zookeeper and go through and take care of some of the animals, not the bigger animals. I'm sure they'd have a lot of fun with that, but take care of the animals, take care of the zoo. And in order for, to get that kind of experience. And I think it's great if the kids have that kind of interest to support that interest. Um, so it's there's a lot of different camps going on around the area during the summer, different festivals. I know as we get into June and July, we'll start getting into like strawberry picking and blueberry picking. So all the berry festivals will come up out of that, which is always great. If you don't grow your own, it's a good chance to go, if you've never done, strawberry picking or something like that, it's a great family activity. What else is going on around our area? Um, there's an interesting, um, sorry, I'm looking here. Oh, we still have our Micron, and Micron is one of the headlines. And we were just talking about this the other day, with Micron, and I've since the beginning of the year, people have been kind of wound up about the Micron plant and what it means and what it could mean for property values and development around Syracuse and Central New York. And I talked about this on the first podcast, and uh, you know, it looks like it may actually come to fruition, even though it is a 10-year plan, even though they're probably not going to drive pylons into the ground for 2 or 3 years. But there's been some interesting property acquisitions, property development. Adam White's been in a group or purchased a golf course in order to create residential communities. I saw something within my brokerage, my real estate brokerage, that somebody was looking for land in order to do some residential development. But when you get up in the Clay area and there's 4 acres of land and they're attempting to sell it for $1.4 million, I mean, what are we doing? That just kind of stifles the ability to develop some decent residential housing if the market value of that is just way crazy high. Oh, that was the other thing I saw the other day in the news was, and I don't watch the news per se. If I see the news, it's because my wife turns it on the TV, or I see it on Twitter or something on social media. But the latest contentious debate in the city of Syracuse is starting school hours at different times and having to start them early. They have busing concerns. And I saw something yesterday where a high school student, was saying how he couldn't possibly expect to get up, 30 minutes earlier to go to school because, it would just be too hard on him. And he's probably going to miss his first 2 periods of next year, of classes next year, because he just can't make it at that 30-minute earlier time frame. Give me a break. You know, we have created an environment where where the kids have too much say. I'm sorry, it's my personal opinion. The kids feel they have too many rights and too much of an opinion. Go to school. School starts at 6:30 a.m. Go to school. If it starts at 8:30 a.m., go to school. You know, it's something you have to do. It's something that you can't typically get out of. So if you want to get an education, go to school. It's just and granted, maybe that 30-minute start is just too hard on the families, the parents that have to get ready for work, get the kids off to school. But if it's a junior high or high school student, get your butt ready, get out to the bus and go to school or walk, whatever it might be. Um, I just don't understand that. Well, I just can't possibly make it, so I'm just going to skip my first two periods. It's not teaching our kids responsibility. I'm sorry. So it's I don't know. I'll get off that one because that drop your comments below, but that's just kind of my point of view on that whole thing. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, and I was switching over to sports, is Syracuse University basketball. Is it me or is Adrian Autry's coaching staff just they are recruiting like I've never seen SU basketball recruit before? And I'm tempted to say that it's more along the lines of Adrian or Coach Autry trying to make that the next year's Syracuse basketball team his team, which is very smart on his part. And I think it's part of what we've been kind of stuck in a rut and no jab at Coach Boeheim and all the success he's had over 40 plus years, almost 50 years. But it really was a time for a change. And I think bringing in, and because of the way college basketball is arranged now and the transfer portal and all of that, Syracuse has been able to land some very, very good Division I players. And it's going to be interesting to see how well the team does. Do they mesh together? Because you got these players that are coming in from other colleges. They've been used to other programs, and now they have to be infused into a program that's new, with new coaches, and a new philosophy and methodology and mindset. That's all going to play a part in the Syracuse University basketball team. So, I mean, a 7'4" center. Hopefully, he I don't know too much about the kid, but hopefully he plays center and can take up that space in the middle, not get shoved out of the way like when Jesse Edwards was first starting as a center at SU. He was so thin that they would just kind of shove him out of the way during the game, and Syracuse didn't have a true center. So hopefully the 7'4" kid can come in and make a difference as a center, because Syracuse hasn't had a dominant big man in the center in years. And it'd be good to see to expand the game, to expand their play, not just a 3-point shot and after 3-point shot, but actually have a threat in the center to be able to pass to and open up some plays and open up that 3-point shot later on. I know some of the dirt races are ramping up. Some of Watkins Glen racing is ramping up. You'll see over the next couple of months the NFL summer camps will get going. So it's going to be an exciting time as far excuse me, as far as sports goes around the area. Plus you have all the excuse me, so all of the as I'm choking on myself during the middle of the podcast, all of the scholastic sports, summer sports. Again, like I was saying, some of the camps, baseball camps, lacrosse camps, soccer camps, anything that can be done outdoors, all of that will be ramping up. So let's see what else is going on in our headlines here. Tina Turner died. That really doesn't have a whole lot to do with Syracuse Central New York, but it is a pop icon. Graduations. Whether there's any proms left. I'd like to hear, is your schools or your high schools, are they still, are there any proms, or as when I was in high school, it was a senior ball that was always the first or second week in June. I'm sure some of them are still happening, but it seems like the proms have backed up into May, which when I went to high school a bazillion years ago, the junior prom was at the end of May, and the senior ball was the first week or two of June. Now it seems like they've all pushed into uh, pushed into May. But I think, having those kind of activities, those gatherings, in the first couple of weeks of June, kind of helps the weather aspect for photos and such. So Onondaga Lake gets a new deep water fishing pier. That's interesting. How many of you have gone fishing at Onondaga Lake? Are you brave enough? Growing up, to us, it was Onondaga Lake was that polluted lake that nobody wanted to be near. And now they've made attempts of cleaning it up, and it's probably so supposedly it's the cleanest it's been in decades. But how many people actually go out onto Onondaga Lake and do fishing? I know the majority of people kind of stick to the other waterways, but now they have this new pier, deep water fishing pier. But does Onondaga Lake have more than just carp in it? Are there any bass? Are there any of the other fish varieties within Onondaga Lake? I'd like to hear your comments. Drop a comment below, because I'm not a big fisherman, so I don't know. But it's interesting how Onondaga Lake has kind of grown and not grown, not the lake itself, but Onondaga Lake, the activities on the lake has grown. And the amphitheater concerts will start ramping up. I gotta see about getting tickets to some of those concerts, because there's some country acts and rock acts and certain things I wanted to see besides what happens at the Great New York State Fair. So I gotta check that out. What concerts are you going to? Put a comment in. I'd like to hear what kind of concerts you're going to this year. What shows you're going to see? You know, what are the specific shows that you're looking forward to? I know there'll be some fireworks that'll as we get closer to 4th of July, you'll have some more fireworks shows that'll be going on. But here's my episode 2 rant for today, and ramble about things that are happening here in Syracuse, Central New York. I'm looking for new guests. If you are from the local area, just like I said, politician, business owner, musician, doesn't matter, chef. If you have any interest in being on this new podcast, have a conversation about what you have going on here in Syracuse and Central New York, I'd love to hear about it. Let's connect. Drop a comment, reach out to me, shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect and start growing this community with people that are actively participating in the community, because I think the conversations would be outstanding. So with that, that's going to end episode 2 of CNY Conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, share. I want to grow this community. I want to grow this podcast, because I'm very excited about the potential and the conversations that I get to have later on. With that, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Until episode 3, have a great day.